Commentary on the market. Preface by Caveat Emptor. What's going on in the stock market today? October 21, 2024. Started out a little rough, but it's capitulating. What do we think is going to happen between now and November 4th in the stock market? Are you one of those persons that becomes a little exhausted with the constant pandering that occurs by Wall Street? We are not that naive, even though we may think that we want to give our brain decisions to someone else to make. But unfortunately, the market has changed. Sure, Qualcomm's down to 167 right now, 3.92 points down at 2.29% change. But the thing about that is, these particular stocks, especially stocks in the technology arena, are volatile. These are the kind of stocks that you kind of have to watch relatively all the time. Stay focused. They go up, they go down. The key is trying to make sure you understand how to take advantage of a price going up and how to take advantage of a price going down. Yes, you can make money in the stock market even when the market's headed south. Takes a little bit more experience, but it's a far cry safer than betting on options. Where's the market headed in the next 14 to 15 days? My guess is you're just going to see some of the same continuous capitulation. There's not a whole lot of rush to get out of the stock market because the goal is to try to push it up before November 4th. There is a crucial reason why that needs to happen. Now, whether or not it is accomplished or not, that's another story. But there's a good chance it could. Qualcomm has been one of my favorite stocks for years. I've always admired it. Never made a red dime in Qualcomm because of the fact that I'm not the person that participates in the stock market at that level. These stocks are just highly risky. You can't afford to be working a job and trying to earn money in the stock market. Not real money. And I know somebody would probably come back and say, well, I made, X amount of dollars and I worked 2 jobs. Well, you can passively make that kind of money, if you follow certain regulations and rules. But when I say money, I'm talking about real money. I'm talking about money where you're rich enough to buy your own jet. You're the one that's making the money that defines the price of a paper clip. That kind of money. You can decide if you want to run for some effective political position because you've got that kind of money. That's the kind of money I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your standard retail dollars. If you only really knew what was going on with Wall Street and retail, unfortunately, I'm not going to be the one to tell you. But those characters that do invest on Wall Street, the heavy players, the ones that pull up in front of Wall Street with a 2024 Lamborghini and someone's there to park it for them. Those characters, they're not there to work to make retail money. They're making generational money on a daily basis. And if they can convince you to buy or sell a stock and they can get a 2 point, 1 point, quarter point move, you better believe they're going to do it. And they're very efficient at the process. Don't think for a second that you can outsmart Wall Street, because they're always 100 steps ahead of you. All the information that you read, view, see, they had that information 2-3 months ago. It's been fed to you. It's almost like feeding cattle, putting little pieces of grain down bit by bit. You cannot beat the machine. You can get scraps, but you'll never really beat the machine. There have been all kinds of experiments for people who think they can time the market. I mean, there have been experiments over the last 15 years about trying to beat the S&P. Sure, you can beat the S&P, but that's what you call a very strategic, functional trader. The only thing about beating any specific market or any specific goal or standard, no one's going to tell you about the losses. Sure, I sold $1 billion worth of Tesla stock and I made, I don't know, 300 million. If I had made that trade, I'd be bragging all over the world. But I'm not going to tell you about that 200 million I lost betting on a small company called BlackBerry. You know, we always talk about our winners. Nobody talks about the losers. And the thing about a stock, although you see right now Qualcomm at 167 with a 3.92 point drop, what does that 3.92 mean? What does that 2.29% difference today mean? That means somebody bought this stock at 170 odd cents and they're losing money. So whoever bought this stock in the 171s, 172s just lost $3.92 on their share. But if they're in a situation where they're basically buying and holding, there's a possibility they might get it back. But here's my question. Is anybody really buying and holding anymore? In my opinion, the only people that probably should be doing that are probably the retail investors who are in their 20s to 30s. Outside of that, you're making, in my opinion, and again, caveat emptor, you're making a big, big mistake because the markets don't react the way they used to. The way markets used to react, that changed. It's the same thing when they told you back when you were in college that, you know, stocks go down, buy bonds. Well, what happened to bonds? Look at what happened to bonds. It's a very huge disappointment. Everything that you probably were taught, if you're in your what they call baby boomer generation, that information is now obsolete. I think it was Ben Franklin, or at least he gets credit for saying that a penny saved is a penny earned. A penny saved is a penny earned. Have you seen how the dollar value has dropped? Interest being, I believe he said it was the sixth wonder of the world or whatever. I can't remember who coined that phrase, but the seventh wonder of the world. But the bottom line is, really? You can barely get 0.001% interest from the most well known banks across the United States. And anything that you're placing your funds into that promise you more, you better do your research before you actually make that decision. Because if a high grade bank refuses to pay you interest, what makes you think someone else is going to do it and give you more? Today, our markets seem to be occurring as they have been occurring for the last 45 days, trying to hold steady. What are they waiting for? They're holding steady, even though we've got a small incremental drop in the market today. Be careful. Be cautious. Figure out what's best for you, because I have the strangest prognosis in my head that we're in for a very interesting ride. Do well investing and have a great day.